The letter came on a quiet Tuesday morning, slipped under my blue door like an insult wrapped in white paper. $5,000 fine. Reason: unauthorized exterior color. I stared at it, confused, then angry, then oddly hurt. That door wasn't just paint to me. It was the first thing I fixed with my own hands after my divorce, the one bright thing I chose for myself when everything else felt gray. And now the HOA president, Mrs. Caldwell, had decided it didn't belong in her neighborhood. I walked outside and looked around the street. Beige doors, brown doors, gray doors, everything looked the same, like a row of houses afraid to breathe. My blue door stood out like a small piece of sky, and maybe that's why she hated it. Mrs. Caldwell lived across the street in the biggest house, always watching from behind her curtains, clipboard in hand like she was the mayor of our lives. I went to her house that afternoon, letter shaking in my hand, hoping for a conversation, maybe even understanding. She didn't even invite me in. She smiled, cold and practiced, and said rules are rules, and if I paid within 14 days, she might consider letting me repaint. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about how easily someone could make you feel small. How one person with a little power could turn your home into a problem. The fine wasn't just money. It was humiliation. I felt it in my chest, heavy and burning. But somewhere between the anger and the tears, a different feeling started to grow. I wasn't going to beg. And I wasn't going to repaint that door. Instead, I started reading. HOA bylaws, city regulations, provincial housing rules. I learned more in 2 weeks than I had in years. And that's when I found it. A clause buried deep in the documents that required the HOA president to get written approval from the city before issuing fines over aesthetic changes visible from public roadways. Mrs. Caldwell never had that approval. Not once. Not for me. Not for anyone. So I went to the city office downtown, blue door photo in hand, and filed a complaint. Then I knocked on my neighbors' doors. One by one, they told me their stories. A $1,200 fine for a mailbox. A warning for flower pots. A threat over Christmas lights. People were tired, just scared to speak. We signed together. 23 names. 23 quiet frustrations finally finding a voice. The meeting was held in the community hall on a rainy Thursday evening. Mrs. Caldwell sat at the front, confident as ever, until the city inspector walked in. I watched her smile fade as he read the violations out loud. Unauthorized fines, abuse of authority, failure to follow municipal guidelines. The room was silent except for the rain tapping the windows, and for the first time, she looked small. By the end of the night, every fine she had issued was cancelled. Mine included. She was removed as HOA president effective immediately, and the board was restructured with residents who actually lived here, not ruled it. As people stood up to leave, my neighbors thanked me. Some hugged me. One older man wiped his eyes and said, "I thought I was alone." When I came home, I stood in front of my blue door and touched the paint, still bright, still mine. It wasn't about ruining her. It was about saving myself. About reminding a whole street that a home is not a prison, and rules without humanity are just another kind of cruelty. That door is still blue today, and every time I open it, I remember that sometimes the smallest act of defiance can give an entire community its color back.